First Blood, also known as Rambo, First Blood, is a 1982 American action film directed by Ted Kotcheff and co-written by and starring Sylvester Stallone. The film is based on the 1972 novel First Blood by David Morrell. In the film, Rambo is a troubled and misunderstood Vietnam veteran who must rely on his combat and survival skills when a series of brutal events results in him having to survive a massive manhunt by police and government troops near the fictional small town of Hope, Washington. Plot. In 1981, John Rambo, played by Sylvester Stallone, a Vietnam War veteran, goes to a lake house in the American Northwest in search of his friend from his unit, Delmar Berry. Rambo soon learns from Delmar's wife that he has died a few months earlier from cancer due to Agent Orange exposure. He offers his condolences to the soldier's widow for her loss and gives her a photo of the pair and the rest of their unit, Baker team. Continuing his travels, Rambo reaches the town of Hope, Washington, looking for a meal and possibly a hotel to spend the night. The sheriff, Will Teasel, played by Brian Dennehy, heads him off and drives him to the outskirts of town, explaining that he considers his job to keep drifters out of Hope. Neglecting the sheriff's warning, Rambo returns to Hope. Teasel arrests Rambo on charges of vagrancy, resisting arrest, and possessing a concealed knife. Led by the sadistic Chief Deputy Art Galt, played by Jack Starrett, Teasel's officers Ward, played by Chris Mulkey, and Mitch, played by David Caruso, abuse Rambo, triggering flashbacks of the torture he endured in Vietnam. When they try to dry shave him with a straight razor, Rambo has a flashback to being tortured in a North Vietnamese POW camp and loses control, instinctively using his military training to beat Galt and his comrades. He fights his way out of the station, regains his knife, steals a motorcycle and flees into the woods. Rambo spills the cycle he stole and runs up past the tree line. He finds an old sheet of canvas and some wire, making a tunic for himself. He ventures further up the mountain, into the forest. Teasel organizes a search party with automatic weapons, dogs, and a helicopter. Defying Teasel's orders, Galt attempts to shoot Rambo from the helicopter. Cornered on a high cliff, Rambo leaps into a tree, injuring his right arm. With Galt still shooting at him, Rambo throws a rock at the helicopter, breaking its windshield and causing the pilot to briefly lose control. Losing his balance, Galt falls to his death on the jagged rocks. Rambo tries to surrender to Teasel, saying that Galt's death was an accident and that he wants no more trouble, but the officers shoot at him, and he flees. Teasel and his deputies hear on the radio from another deputy from the sheriff's office that the man is John Rambo, a Vietnam vet who is a Green Beret, a war hero who won the Congressional Medal of Honor. In spite of his deputies telling him the lethal methods of Green Berets, Teasel swears revenge. Rambo quickly disables the small, disorganized team using non-lethal guerrilla tactics and booby traps, severely wounding all the deputies and takes one deputy's walkie-talkie. Rambo holds a knife to Teasel's throat. He threatens war if Teasel does not give up the pursuit, before retreating further into the woods. The Washington State Patrol and Washington National Guard are brought in to assist Teasel, along with Rambo's mentor and former commanding officer, Colonel Sam Troutman, played by Richard Crenna. Troutman is surprised to find any of the deputies still alive and advises that Rambo should be allowed to escape to the next town in order to defuse the situation, then be permitted to surrender peacefully later. Confident that Rambo is hopelessly outnumbered, Teasel refuses. He allows Troutman to contact Rambo and try to persuade him to give himself up. Rambo refuses to come in, condemning Teasel and his deputies for their abuse, citing that they drew first blood. Rambo switches the radio off. By the time the conversation ends, Teasel's men have triangulated Rambo's location on the mountain. At the entrance of an abandoned mine, a National Guard detachment corners Rambo. Ignoring Teasel's instructions to wait for his arrival, the guardsmen fire M72 Law's rocket at him, collapsing the entrance, and they assume Rambo is dead. Rambo goes deeper into the rat-infested mine. Rambo finds some old fuel and makes an improvised torch. He finds a way out, hijacks an Army M135-2 cargo truck carrying an M60 machine gun and ammunition. In an effort to distract the officers, armed with an M60 machine gun, Rambo blows up a gas station, shoots out most of the town's power, and destroys a sporting goods store close to the police station. Troutman, understanding that the sheriff is outmatched, tries again to convince Teasel to leave Rambo be. The sheriff ignores his orders and attempts to locate and kill Rambo. Rambo spots Teasel on the police station's roof, and shoots him. Teasel falls through a skylight. As Rambo prepares to kill Teasel, Troutman appears and warns Rambo that he will be killed unless he surrenders, reminding him that he is the last survivor of his elite unit of Green Berets. Rambo vents about the horrors of war and his traumatic experiences, watching his friends die in Vietnam, being unable to hold a job due to his PTSD, the nasty treatment he received from his fellow Americans when he came home, and being forgotten by the country that he sacrificed so much for. After being comforted by Troutman, Rambo surrenders and is taken into federal custody, while Teasel is taken to a waiting ambulance for transport to the hospital. About the film. The film, directed by Ted Kotcheff and screenplay, is written by Michael Kozol, William Sackheim, and Sylvester Stallone. Screenplay is based on the novel First Blood, written by David Morrell. Casting of the film was Sylvester Stallone, Richard Crenna, Brian Dennehy, Bill McKinney, Jack Starrett, David Caruso, David L. Crowley and Chris Mulkey. First Blood was primarily filmed in British Columbia, Canada. The production faced various challenges, including adverse weather conditions during outdoor scenes. The film's score was composed by Jerry Goldsmith, known for its intense and atmospheric tones that complemented the action-packed sequences and dramatic moments. First Blood was released on October 22, 1982, in the United States. The film had an estimated budget of $15 million and went on to gross over $125 million worldwide, making it a commercial success. First Blood received generally positive reviews from critics. Sylvester Stallone's portrayal of John Rambo and the film's gritty action sequences were praised, while the themes of post-war trauma and the treatment of veterans were also noted. The film is often regarded as a defining action film of the 1980s and established the iconic character of John Rambo. It spawned a successful franchise and contributed to the popularization of the one-man army archetype in action cinema. First Blood served as the first installment in the Rambo franchise. It was followed by 4 sequels: Rambo, First Blood Part 2, 1985, Rambo 3, 1988, Rambo, 2008, and Rambo, Last Blood, 2019. 10 interesting facts about First Blood movie. 1. The film was initially intended to have a different ending, where Rambo dies in a mercy killing as in the novel, but it was changed during production to set up the possibility of sequels. 2. Sylvester Stallone performed many of his own stunts in the movie, including the famous cliff jump scene. 3. The character of John Rambo was originally envisioned as a more ruthless and violent character, but Stallone brought depth and vulnerability to the role. 4. Brian Dennehy was originally considered for the role of John Rambo but ended up playing the role of Sheriff Teasel. 5. Morrell named the character Rambo after a type of apple cultivated by a 17th-century Swedish settler named Peter Gunnarsson Rambo. 6. James Garner, Paul Newman, Al Pacino, Chris Christopherson, Clint Eastwood and Robert De Niro were discussed for the lead role. 7. Gene Hackman and Robert Mitchum were discussed to play the Sheriff Teasel, also Lee Marvin and Kirk Douglas as Colonel Troutman. 8. Sidney Pollack considered doing the film in late 1974 with Steve McQueen as Rambo and Burt Lancaster as the sheriff. 9. John Rambo is also the name of an American athlete who won a bronze medal in high jump at the 1964 Summer Olympic Games. 10. George Miller was asked to direct the film.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more interesting videos and don't forget to press like button and share.
Along the way, in every new town, just seems to bring you down, trying to find